What's up, world? Uko here from Better Therapy Now. Losing faith, the biggest threat for teens. This isn't necessarily about religion, but just about like beliefs in certain things during that transition from being a teenager, like 16, 17, to being like in your early 20s, like that whole transition period when your brain's kind of doing its final development. The things that happen can really detach a young person from the stuff that from like their core beliefs. For me, it actually was religion. I was going to a church, I think it was on 23rd and Northern, with my best friend. I was really, really close to his family, and there was a big event, probably the most impactful event that happened to me during my senior year of high school. And that was the pastor of that church left the church. And then right after that, the youth pastor left the church. And I didn't realize how much of an impact that pastor had on me. He was a military veteran. I think he was in the Navy. I remember he had a really, really deep voice, but he would always sing super loud. And he was just a presence in the church. And going through that whole, I guess, experience, and on top of that, the fact that there were not a whole lot of I didn't have a lot of information about why he was leaving or why the youth pastor was leaving, because my family wasn't going to church. It was just my friend's family. So nobody was really talking to me about it. But that whole transition happened, and then I went to college, and I remember going to the church across the street from ASU, from Best Hall, which I think is still there. It's probably the oldest dorm at ASU. I went to the church. I went to the youth group. It was like a kind of a good experience, but there was something different. There was something very like I wasn't connecting with the experience the way that I did before. And maybe it was because I wasn't attending with my best friend anymore. But I think it was because of the experience that I had my senior year in high school, and the fact that I hadn't really addressed it emotionally or really processed it at all with anybody, because I just didn't have anybody to talk to that I felt I could talk to, and I didn't even know that maybe I should talk about it and how it was impacting me. And a couple of weeks after I went to that church across the street from ASU, one of the members reached out and called me, just like kind of a check-in call. And something in me just kind of clicked. And I was like, I am completely done with church forever. Something about it seemed so superficial. And I think the reason why it felt so superficial is because I never talked with or interacted with anybody, or just like really processed the whole experience, got to ask the right questions. It wasn't even like I had questions, but just having somebody there that could have helped me through that transition might have helped keep that faith and that discipline intact. And I think that is a very common thing that happens during that time period, those young adult years, that where like individual therapy, mentorship, life coaching, any of that type of stuff would be very good for, because somebody that specializes in that group can introduce the right questions that can get somebody to kind of a young person to kind of think about it and just be able to make sense of the whole situation, so that there's not so much emotional damage that is long term. And somebody that really specializes in that age group, they can remember when they went through it. They have those conversations often, so their questioning could be much more strategic and like help guide the person, not necessarily in a right or wrong way, because there's no right or wrong way, but help them sort of navigate the situation and have a realization that there is a situation to be navigated. And that, even that much, could have been all the difference for me. And overall, I think that's one of the biggest threats, is losing faith or core beliefs during those transitions, because I think almost subconsciously those core beliefs and those things that we have faith in during our young adult years are going to be challenged, and it's better to kind of challenge them consciously rather than subconsciously. I'm Muko from Better Therapy Now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.